Hello there, and welcome to today's live Zoo to You. My name is Katie, and I am joined by Danya, and we work in the education department here at Stone Zoo, and we are very excited to introduce all of you to Shadow, who is a prehensile-tailed porcupine. So if you have any questions about Shadow throughout our video today, please feel free to ask them in the comment section, and we will do our very best to answer them for you. But let's meet this stinky little man up close. So I say stinky little man because those of you watching do not have smell-o-vision at home, and prehensile-tailed porcupines, just like other species of porcupines, are pretty stinky. I equate Shadow's stink to old onions, human BO. They are very smelly animals, but they are extra adorable to make up for that fact. So Shadow is 9 years old, and he is an ambassador animal. That means that he is able to come out of his habitat here at the zoo, out onto a perch so people can see him and smell him up close. And what Danya is doing right now is some training with Shadow. So you may notice that Danya is occasionally introducing this stick with a red circle on it, and that is a target pole. Shadow is trained to touch that, and when he does so, Danya will give him a click. That click is called a bridge, and that tells him food is on the way. So he gets rewarded for that target pole. And target training is a type of training we do with many animals here at the zoo, and that will help us to better work with them so they can potentially participate in their own health care. So that way they are voluntarily moving. We might move them to different parts of their enclosure. With some animals, we may also train them to present their shoulder or their hip to mesh or closer to their keepers so they can receive a voluntary vaccination or injection as well. So if Shadow does not want to participate with us, he does not have to. He makes that very clear to us if he is not feeling like he wants to come out and meet people. Shadow is also trained to voluntarily come in and out of his crate. So if you have pets at home that are familiar with going to the vet, you may also transport your pets at home in a crate. I know that personally, I have not done any crate training with my cats at home, and they do not like going in their crate. They associate that with going to the vet, which is not their favorite place to be. We don't want our animals here at the zoo to feel that way. We want their crate to be a place where they feel comfortable and safe being in. So Shadow is trained to go into his crate if he would like to. So when we are getting ready to transport him, we will present his crate. If he would like to go in, he can. If he doesn't want to go in, we do not have a way of forcing him in that crate. Porcupines are covered in thousands and thousands of quills, so we cannot safely touch or move him in his crate. So with animals like porcupines, it's really important to have a relationship built on mutual trust. He trusts us as some of his caretakers here at the zoo and knows that his crate is a safe place, and if he wants to go in that day, he can. So it's all done completely on his schedule. You might get a good look right now at those super long incisors, and if you have extra good eyes, you might even catch some orange drool. There it is, dripping right down. So Shadow does drool occasionally, and that drool is orange because of his food that he's eating. Our animals here at the zoo diets. Prehensile-tailed porcupines are herbivores. They are plant eaters. Shadow's favorite thing to eat is sweet potato. So we have tried training with different types of food for Shadow to give him some variation, but sweet potato is his absolute favorite thing to eat. So that's why you might see a little bit of orange drool. You might also notice that his teeth are a little orange or brown in color. And that doesn't have as much to do with the sweet potato as you might think. Porcupines, since they are rodents, they're chewing on really hard things like wood and hard fruits and vegetables, tree bark. They need to have really, really strong incisors. So that coloration on their teeth is different forms of mineral deposits that are just going to make their teeth extra super strong so they can crunch through those really hard materials. And one of my favorite things about Shadow that you might notice is that very, and this is a scientific term, boopable snoot. Porcupines and prehensile-tailed porcupines especially have really big, squishy, marshmallow-looking noses. Having a super big nose helps porcupines have an extra great sense of smell. Prehensile-tailed porcupines do not have great eyesight, so relying on that sense of smell is one of the best ways for them to navigate through their environment. You'll also notice Shadow is holding on to this perch right now with his tail, and that is how they get that name, prehensile-tailed porcupines. They do have a prehensile tail that is capable of grabbing onto things, and he will use that extra long tail for balance. So having that spot on his perch for him to wrap his tail around just gives him a little extra set of balance when he's out on a perch or a branch in his exhibit. And have we had any questions come in about porcupines?
We did have a question from Lexi. She was wondering if we could hear him crunch. Would you be able to take that closer to him?
Yes.
So hear some good.
Microphone off here, and he's about to be rewarded with some sweet potato. We'll hold it up close. Not too close. You can't crunch on the microphone, my friend. And hopefully those of you watching live or later on at home will get to hear some of those crunches up close.
Awesome, thank you. And Jessica was wondering how many different kinds of porcupines are there?
Ooh, that's a really great question, Jessica. I know that there are over 30. I believe there's around 35 or 36 different species, but we can look that up and get back to you. But there are many, many kinds of porcupines. They are found throughout North, Central, and South America, but also Africa and Asia. So here in Massachusetts, we do have a native species of porcupine. If you've been to the Stone Zoo, you might have seen them here at the zoo as well. Those are North American porcupines, but down in Central and Southern America, there are many different kinds of porcupines. If you take a look at Shadow, you might get a good sense that this is a relatively tropical species. Our North American porcupines, in addition to all of those quills covering their body, they will also have fur for staying warm. Shadow has a layer of short, dense quills, so these species don't have to worry about, preserving their body temperature out in colder habitats. This is a very tropical species. In fact, even when we're transporting Shadow across the zoo, he does live a few buildings over from where we are now. In the wintertime, we have to transport him in a heated vehicle. So even being outside for a short amount of time is something that could shock him just because this species is used to warmer temperatures. So we always make sure we have to keep him nice and warm and toasty because that's what his species requires.
A personal question that I have, it's a follow-up to that question for Katie and Danya. Which species of porcupine is your favorite?
It's unfair. I would have to say prehensile-tailed just because I've known Shadow for many years now, and having that personal connection, just knowing an individual of that species makes them stand out so much to me. And those noses, I mean, come on. Danya, what about you?
Ooh, I do love Shadow so much, but I do have to say my favorite porcupine is probably the North American porcupine. I love seeing them around our neck of the woods and seeing them in the wild, and I've done some work with them for rehabilitation into the wild, so I do have a very soft spot for North American porcupines.
Excellent. And then one final question for our trainer, Danya. How long would it take to train a porcupine like Shadow to target? What's that process like?
That is a great question. So I was not the original trainer to train Shadow to target, so I don't know about how long it took him to learn, but every individual is different. So some individuals, it might take just a couple of weeks. Some individuals, it can take a lot longer than that. You have to be very, very patient, and you have to know exactly how to motivate that individual you are trying to train. So there's not an exact amount of time.
Excellent, thank you. Michelle said that crunch noise is so cute, and Michelle, we could not agree more.
It is very cute. Humans, not so much, but with Shadow, it's adorable. All right, well, we are just about out of time. We want to thank you all so much for joining us today for our Zoo to You. Make sure